You know, guys have both had good weeks, competing hard.
How good is that TCU defense when you look at them on film?
They're good. You know, they're very fast. They get to the ball well, play off of blocks. They're well coached. They understand their system, the strengths. They know the weaknesses. They know how to make adjustments when you find an area to attack. So it's going to be a great challenge for us offensively.
Tim, you guys going to stick with Shane just to keep with some consistency?
You know, we haven't made that decision quite yet. I think both are ready to go and need them when needed.
Are y'all still at a point where whoever you pick to go out first, that's the guy you want to playing the whole way, or do you see yourself rotating guys, or are y'all past that now?
I don't know that. You know, again, I think the bottom line is who's going to respond and who's going to move our team. You know, that's what we're going to look for the most. And we're going to continue to get both those guys ready. We're going to continue to give them reps. We're going to continue to coach them up. And we're going to continue to ask them to compete against each other but support whoever's out there, which they've done.
Yeah.
And ultimately the guy who's on rhythm, the guy who's moving our team and making plays will be the guy that's going to be playing.
Have you ever had a 6'5", 220-pound slot receiver? And what's it like having?
I tell you, he's what a game he had. You know, he was really sick most of the night before and heading into the game. What a competitor! What a great job he did, and all the things that he does, and how well he does them. You know, blocking, and you see, I should say all does well. I didn't throw that pass very well, but I was teasing him about it. But he, you know, just all the things he does. He's a good route runner. He catches the ball in traffic. He got good yak yards. You know, we've used him at the tight end position. Heck, we've direct snapped it to him, and he just seems to continue to be the one guy that constantly makes plays every game for us right now.
You've got a couple of receivers who played quarterback in high school.
Yeah.
Hurd and Lojo.
Yeah.
You don't want to run that pass to those guys?
Well, you know, I just think a lot of it has to do with who do we get the ball in those situations to be able to do that. You know what I mean? We don't want to all of a sudden alert that we're doing something to a guy who used to play quarterback if he's never done that. Where, you know, we've done some things with Lojo, with LJ, you know, and guys like that set up the next part of that play progression.
A lot of what Sam does well in the games is he's a competitor. He hates to lose. He runs with power. Can he show that stuff in practice, or is he kind of a different type of player in practice and then in games? You
know, he shows the competitive nature. He shows that drive, that will to win. He's very hard on himself and his teammates. So that element, obviously, we don't do a lot of live hitting and contact with the quarterback position at practice, so that part you don't see.
Is Connor practicing?
Not in team settings, no.
Is Tennille probably out for this week?
I don't know. I don't know.
Do you ever think you're going to get to a point this season where you guys have that, every down back, or is this going to be these four guys, you guys are just going to be right in the hot hand? I'd
like just every down lineman or every down receivers. I mean, we just right now we're playing a lot of guys, and the guys who kind of get the hot hand, so to speak, are the guys that are in there getting the job done. And this past week happened to be Tennille and Danny, and they did a nice job for us. Other games it was Chris, and Kyle had a game where he had a couple of touchdowns, and it's been that way at receiver. It's been that way at offensive line. It's been that way at quarterback right now. So at young guys, we got to continue to grow. We got to continue to be consistent, and that's a good thing, because they are competing and they are working hard, so they are getting better, and they're getting opportunities out there to do it. And some guys are making those plays, and some guys aren't.
Did you guys game plan for Danny and Tennille to play a lot more against Baylor? Or did that just kind of happen?
I don't know that there was a true game plan to say they were going to play a lot more, but we knew we were going to play them.
You played Lil Jordan and Cade at the same time this past game.
Yeah.
Why, and what do you feel like you get out of it?
Again, just sometimes breaking tendencies and doing different things.
Do you like what you saw?
Yeah, I thought our guys took a step. I thought they took a step last week. We got to continue to do that, though.
Coach, do you need to see more from Colin Johnson, or is it kind of, or the defense is kind of taking him out of it?
It's a combination of both. You know, there's teams that are taking them out, or situations where they're trying to take them out. Dorian's actually been playing really well, so I know they've been splitting time. And when Colin gets those opportunities, he has to make those opportunities.
What kind of went into the decision to only have Chris Warren get 3 touches this past game and instead rely on the freshman with the freshman?
Yeah. Again, I don't know that there's ever a decision we sit down and say, don't give the ball to Chris Warren. I mean, that's not what we do. I just think you saw Danny and Tennille breaking tackles and getting some extra yards and showed a little burst and a little oomph, and so we kept feeding them. Sometimes they just see things, and sometimes fresh legs, you know, eagerness, excitement, you know, young freshmen all giddy playing, and sometimes it's a combination of all those things, but they were doing some really good things, and so we felt like, hey, let's keep them in there and feed them.
What percentage is TCU blitzing?
You know, they're not a real high blitz team. They're really not. But, you know, you could throw most of that stuff out the window. It doesn't really matter. Every game we go in, somebody does something different. So we anticipate and we prepare for everything all the time. Try to anymore. We've learned our lesson.
Talk to your guys this week about just penalties and being
Yeah.
smart on that side of the ball.
Yeah, we need to be, you know, again, continue to be better. We had a touchdown taken off the board and, you know, some big plays at times over the last couple of games. And it's like I've told you guys earlier, when sometimes we're our worst enemy. We move the football, and it's things that we do, not necessarily what the defense is doing. It's what we're doing, and we continue to work on that and continue to keep, you know, hammering it home, technique and fundamentals, and playing hard. So,
Did you see a holding call?
what's that?
Did you see a holding on that? It looked like a pancake.
Yeah, I mean, I
You,
don't know. I'm not
how much did
commenting
you
on.
bust CUNY for that one?
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's a hard one. There's been a couple of those too this year.
Would be nice to kind of coach in an area you're familiar with back in DFW again?
Yeah, you know, it'll be interesting to head back up there and get in the DFW area.
I mean, is this?
Yeah, you know, we kind of modified it a little bit, and we put Deshaun in a different spot, so it was good for us. I think it's more of a natural position for him. Moving John around a little bit gives us some flexibility in terms of some of the coverage that we can run, and especially versus some of the spread stuff. So, you know, put it full force at Oklahoma State was really simple with it in terms of what we ran. Got a little bit more advanced with it, you know, versus Baylor. And then, you know, like I said beforehand, you know, there's things that we like about it. You know, we can run. We'll mix it up, you know, moving forward.
How much did you play into? Well, it was Baylor. I mean, do you look at it as for what it was, or do you tell the guys, hey, you know, we're going to face better teams?
No.
How do you gauge that?
No, it's just consistency. That's what it is. I mean, to me, it's about playing hard all the time, being physical, and it's not even about the actual team that we're playing. We're battling ourselves every time that we go on the practice field and every time that we compete. It has nothing to do. You know, we're facing, you know, great opponents, but really at the end of the day, we don't sit in a room and say this is our opponent, whether it's Oklahoma, whether it's TCU, Baylor, it doesn't matter. And we have our own, you know, things that we've got to clean up. I mean, that's where we're at with this unit. You know, when we go on the field, it's a collection of what we've done in terms of, you know, cleaning guys up mentally, fundamentally, in meetings and all that. And what you see in the game is what we work like crazy. So it's just versus somebody.
Yeah.
That's the way we try to approach this thing. We don't put, and you know, every game for us, I mean, we're Texas. Every game's going to be big. Everybody's going to give us their A game. We better show up. So it's we try to practice that way as much as possible. But I think what we're seeing right now is being consistent with the kids in terms of what we're teaching, the structure of the scheme and all those things, and they're starting to figure it out. So they're, you know, what you see is maybe playing harder, but in my opinion, they're playing harder and because they know what they're doing. And we just got to stay that course. And we're going to have some wrinkles because you just can't do the same thing over and over. These guys are too smart, they'll beat you up. So we have to have some wrinkles here and there, but the core of what we do has to remain the same. Like I always say, you don't trick people in this profession. You just don't do it, especially when you get into week 8 and 9. You are what you are. You're not going to reinvent a new defense. You go out there and you try to play harder for longer than what your opponent is.
Coach, when you look at Deshaun's interception, there's probably at least 3 guys that were able to get to the ball.
Yeah.
How much do you preach throughout the week to be able to attack the ball?
Yeah, I think his vision on the QB, that was his zone coverage. And, Deshaun's, he's got a great knack for the football, and, when he gets in the ball in his hands, I mean, it's like hair on fire to block for him. Our kids know that he's one of those guys that can house it, and they want to be a part of that. So you saw Gary Johnson, Malik, there was a couple other guys up front that they get excited. But he's one of those guys you don't want to overcoach him. You don't want to say, look at this and do this. Okay, you have this key. He's got vision enough to see through the quarterback to his key, and that's why he's had as many interceptions as he had. But, once again, it just goes down to there's a couple people in that pile. We've been physical. We've shown being physical. Receiver went up. Knew he was going to get hit. Ball gets tipped off, and he does a great job of finishing it.
Does a guy like Antoine bring you guys off the bench?
Well, he's very smart. That's the one thing that he the day that we met him, he's very, very intelligent in terms of football. So he's been through a lot of ball games. He has experience. He's a tough kid. I love him as a human being. Forget about the football part of it. He's a bright-eyed kid that comes in the meetings. He's always saying hello. He's accountable. So, I'm excited for him.
Who's backing him up on the depth chart?
What's that?
Antoine.
Right now, in terms of the guys that we'll work in, will be Josh, Bonnie, those guys will work in there. Yeah, Josh and Bonnie will be the guys who will be in there.
In terms of taking, you're mixing it up obviously, but taking Wheeler and Nashawn off the field, do you become a faster defense, and with Brecken you become a more physical defense?
Yeah, but even with Brecken, I think we become a little bit twitchier defense. So, those guys have their role. I think everybody has their role in terms of the things that they can do for us. I think overall team speed, that helps us, but there's going to be some times where, like you expect TCU to do, is take the ball. And the last 2 years, the issue that we've had around here is they've taken the ball at will and just run it down our face. And we had no chance. 2 years ago, I think it was 300 last year. They smoked us in the fourth quarter, and made us surrender. And, that's the part that's still the unknown. You get a big physical ball club like this that comes in there and, they're going to come in wanting to run the football to see if, in their opinion, is this still Texas that we played in the last couple of years? So that's what we got to prove to, not only we got to prove that to ourselves, that we're going to come out every week and we're going to play hard and physical.
I feel like Iowa State kind of laid the blueprint for how to beat TCU, and what did you see from them that they did so well?
Well, I tell you what they did is they played great tight red zone defense. They moved the ball. Okay, TCU moved the football. They threw an interception that got returned back, and then they tried to throw the football down tight red and it got stripped. So there's 14 points right there that they had. And Iowa State did a good job on third down. Did a good job of getting off the field and not extending drives. And Iowa State's playing as good as anybody in our league defensively. That's where they're not getting a lot of credit. Those guys are flying around playing really, really hard, and they're making plays to finish games. So, they're a good ball club.
Todd, before y'all got here this season, last year we were all writing that Holton was getting in the coach's doghouse. What was wrong with Holton Hill, right? And I wonder, what did y'all do to either get his confidence back or get him to where he's playing at?
Well, I think Jason Washington does a really good job. It starts with relationships, in my opinion. It's no different than with Malik. You can say the same thing.
Right.
And I think it's sitting down and showing guys this and, showing guys that you really care about not only the football part, not that he probably didn't get that, right, but to simplify things and to put them into a package where there's limited thinking. And I think having success, and Jason has turned out if you're a high school corner, and you look at his resume in terms of the amount of draft picks that he's pulled out as corners, dating back to when we were at Houston, he had 3 of them in 2 years that were drafted, well, first rounder, and Will Jackson. So I mean, it's a piece of coaching, but to me, it's a piece of that bond that you have with a guy that says like, oh, here you go, coach, here's my heart, and like, coach me up. Because if you don't have that, there's always going to be some hesitation, and there'll always be some part that says, I don't really believe in this. And that's when you get a hesitant player, and that's when you start to get in bickering matches with guys, and all of a sudden you lose the kid. So I think he's done a really good job with him.
I mean, Deshaun obviously has the stats, but you know, would you make an argument that Holden may be maybe your best defensive player?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I don't think there is an argument, to be honest with you. When you look at the stuff, Deshaun, he's got the interceptions and all that stuff, but when you live out on that corner now, it's, to sit there and knock on wood, I mean, he's been playing, lights out, but to play corner in the Big 12, whew, and to play it at the level that he's doing, I mean, to me, yeah, absolutely. He's our dude back there right now.
You've talked about your guys being comfortable out there on defense. Are they at the point, Coach, where they can come off the field and tell you things that they're seeing?
Yeah,
out there,
absolutely.
and
I mean,
get their input at all.
I was probably more proud of Malik Jefferson 2 weeks ago when we were playing Oklahoma State, and he literally said to me, "Give me the board." Like, what? Give you the what? Give me the board. I want to draw this up for you. Okay, this is what they're doing. And I was so proud of just that, because I've never seen him do that before. It was always like, hey, tell me what's going on. I want to do this. And he physically took the board, started drawing up a play, and said, like, how do I do this? And when he's over there, he's talking like, hey, listen, we need to do this. And there's all this chatter that is so advanced now, where in the past it'd be like, come on, let's go, pick it up. Now they're talking to each other like, hey, listen, if they do this, and we got to do this. And that's the part that you sit back and you're like, that's what you want. It's not like this is their defense. This has nothing to do with us. To me, it's a system inside the system, or ball players that have to make plays. We don't make any tackles. We don't pick the ball off. It's on them. And that's the part when they really believe in something, that they're over there and they can talk through things. And as a coach is like, man, that's when something special is starting to happen. So that's what we're starting to see on the bench. A lot of guys talking, interacting in a positive way to try to make the thing even better.
When you saw film of Hager last year, what did you see? Why did you put him in middle and then put him back on the line?
Here's what we saw, first step. That's what we saw more than anything else. Now, he played in multiple spots. He played up, he played down. The thing about this package was, and I was asked this many times, like, where does it begin at? How do you get this thing going? And it always started through the middle linebacker spot. Through the places I've been, in my opinion, you had to have an all-league middle linebacker. So we came into this and we said, okay, listen, let's see, we're 46 places in this thing. Let's see, okay, this is 45's back. All right, let's create some competition. And that's what our thought process was like. We know this dude's a player. We know we can always move him up front. Let's see if he can play back there, because he's explosive, he's physical, and maybe this is our guy. So we went through it, gave him every opportunity to try to figure it out, but his comfort level was playing down, and we want a happy player that, that plays hard and does what he's doing right now. So that's why we flipped it.